In this lesson, we'll use Max's stretch modifier to add volume to our soccer ball as it bounces along its path. The stretch modifier provides a great way to add basic squash and stretch to our objects. So let's go ahead and use this modifier to add some squashing to our soccer ball as it makes contact with the floor to finish up our animation. So with the soccer ball selected, we'll head over to our Modify panel, and under our modifier list, we'll press the S key. This will help us to quickly get to the stretch modifier. I know it's close. Where are you? There we go. Alright. So now that it has been added, you can see its border that surrounds the soccer ball. Alright, so firstly, what we want to do is go to the Amplify setting, and let's go ahead and set this to about -10. And this is going to give us some nice squash. If we were to go ahead and move the stretch parameter, you can kind of get an idea of the squash we're going to get. Now you can see it's also moving in the wrong direction, this stretch. Okay, and the squash. So what we need to do then is to set a different stretch axis. So in our case, we're going to want to use the y-axis. Much better. Okay, it's just kind of fun just playing around with this parameter. Alright, but let's get serious. Alright, so now we need to go through and animate the squashing. So what I like to do, again, turn on Auto Key and go to the frame where the ball should squash. Okay, that's going to be frame 14. It's also going to be frame 35 and 55. All of those contact frames. So on frame 14, we'll go there and we can go ahead and now adjust our stretch parameter to squash the ball. Now you can see how the squash is definitely off. It should be squashing along the floor. We are going to fix that. But firstly, what we want to do is go ahead and animate our squash on the frames that we want it to be on. So I'll go ahead and set the value to about -0.07, or -0.7, that is. Now notice you cannot see the keys because we need to go back to Filter. We need to right-click the trackbar, head over to Filter, and choose All Keys. Okay, this is very important because you may be animating and you may wonder why your keys aren't showing up on the trackbar. That's probably why it is. Alright, so now that we have that key on frame 14, let's go ahead and transfer that key to the other down position. So that's frame 35. Rather than cloning the key, I'll show you a way you can key from the parameter, the slider. Alright, so we'll go ahead and head over to frame 35. I'll press the Z key to zoom into our soccer ball, and now we can just hold down Shift and right click on the slider, and that will set a key. So we'll do the same thing for frame 55. Again, hold down Shift and right click on the slider. Great. Alright, so now you can kind of see our soccer ball wobbling along as it moves along its path. Let's go ahead and hurry up and fix this because it's disturbing. Okay, so the next step then is going to be to remove the squash. Let's go ahead and take care of that. And our last task will be to correct the squash that we're getting to make sure that it's squashing with the right orientation, squashing on the floor and not at this weird angle. So what we can do here is just go 3 frames or so before and after our down positions where the ball goes back to its original shape. So I'll head over to frame 11 and go ahead and set the stretch to 0. I'll just right click on the slider and that'll set it to 0, and with Auto Key on it will go ahead and store that key. Now that we have the 0 key, we could just go ahead and clone this down the line. So again, we're going 3 frames before and after our down position or contact position. So I'm going to go ahead and clone frame 11 to frame 18. I'll clone frame 18 to frame 29, or excuse me, to frame 32. And then I'll clone 32 to 38. I'll clone 38 to 52. And I'll clone 52 to 58. Notice how much time this cloning process saves. Okay, you got to love the tools in Max. They really help us to get the time back that we need. So if we were to go ahead and hit play, we can see that the timing at which the ball goes back to its original form is exactly what we want. It may still look off. That's only because we need to now correct the orientation of this modifier to make sure that the squash looks right. So let's go ahead and get right to it. We will head over to the stretch modifier, and we want to go ahead and animate the gizmo of the modifier. So from there we'll go to frame 14. I'm going to zoom into the ball, go to our rotate tool, and again I'll go ahead and have this switch to gimbal. And now we want to animate in the x-axis, and notice as we do that we're able to change the shape of our soccer ball. And notice it's not rotating the soccer ball, it's rotating the modifier, so we can correct the orientation of the stretch. Great, so that looks pretty good. We'll go to frame 35, do the same. Just rotate the gizmo down. Excellent. And let's do the same on frame 55. Okay, wonderful. Now, we also want to check our shot camera. Let's go ahead and do that. If you need to, head back over to Viewport Configurations. Go back to your two-pane layout. And again, I'll set the left side to the shot camera, or camera 1. The right side, we'll want that set to the perspective, and we'll just press F3. Alright, so I'll go ahead and zoom in. Head over to the shot camera, press Alt W, and let's go and see how this looks. Okay, I kind of like the bounce on frame 14. I think we can rotate the gizmo a little bit more on the y-axis as well to kind of correct that shape. Okay, there's the next bounce, frame 35. I like to rotate that down just a little bit more in the X and maybe rotate it in the Z-axis to again correct the shape. And on frame 55, I think things look good. Okay, so with that said, this would be a good time to do a preview of the animation so we could see how it looks in real time. So I'm going to go ahead and head over to Tools, grab Viewport, Create Animated Sequence File. In earlier versions of Max, this was called Make Preview, and it was found under the Animation menu. Okay, but here's where we find it now, and under Tools, grab Viewport, and Create Animated Sequence File. Okay, so with these settings, I'm going to go ahead and leave this at the active time segment. That is the range of our animation. We want it playing back at 24 frames per second, so that's good. The percentage of output, I'm going to go ahead and set this to 100%. And let's see, everything else looks good. So from here, go ahead and just pause the video. When I come back, we will see our animation. So here's what we've come up with. Great. So we really should be proud of our work. We've created this bouncing soccer ball animation from scratch. We went through path animation, we went through animation layers, and we even hand keyed the rotation of our ball and discussed some things about the curve editor to make sure everything's going to be matched the way it needs to be by tweaking our interpolation types in the curve editor. We even discussed how to work with the stretch modifier to add some squash and stretch to the soccer ball to keep that volume and to create something more exciting in the end. So if you need to go through those lessons again and get down the concepts that were taught, okay, so you can improve on those and master them to create even better animations on your own projects.